Welcome to Game Day 716. Today is Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, and it's a beautiful day outside. It rained all day, but now it's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, not
It's
really.
not raining.
It's not raining, but
Well, I'm
Sure.
getting my yard redone tomorrow, so they were supposed to come today, but
well,
we decided
that's probably best.
that it was best for them not to come.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
good call on that one.
Yeah, we made a tough decision there. So it did rain all day in Buffalo. That's just how things go. And actually, it's not how all things go because most of the time, all summer, it hasn't been raining at all. We haven't been in drought really, but we've been in a no rain thing. I have had to water
I feel
my.
like we had rain like a couple days ago.
I've had to water a couple days ago. I've had to water my yard a lot. So as I said, we're live. We just lost a viewer, but I know we gained 6. So so you're all here. You're all here to listen to us talk about some pretty important news that have happened today. Today we came on a day early for a couple reasons. Today is the day that the Bills made roster cuts. Tomorrow is our fantasy draft.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're not coming on tomorrow because Noah doesn't want to stream the draft. See? He's also really grumpy today. So he's tired. He's tired.
All right.
Not grumpy.
Yep.
Let's what?
Keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
So what did you Tage Thompson signed by the Sabres. I love this deal. I think it has great potential.
There's CJ.
Hey, CJ. It's game day, CJ, folks.
I didn't even think we talked about Thursday. It was the first in my
was just 3 minutes late today. Not bad.
Yeah. Dang it.
He started at 7:07. That's why. So,
Okay.
We had to.
Can I blame any one of my 4 children? Does that work?
Yeah. That's
okay. So just blame one of them.
Yeah.
You guys can pick.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know their names.
That's fine.
I feel terrible about
that.
Actually.
Honestly, I don't really know their names sometimes either. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know my son's name.
I forget it once in a while.
For those who don't know, that's my son. So we were just talking about the Sabres signing Tage Thompson to 7 years, $50 million deal.
Huge.
I love the signing, 7.125 per season.
Yeah.
This is a very good deal. I think this puts the Sabres in a good spot. I was so worried about Tage having another big season next year and the Sabres having to pay through the nose to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at some of the deals that other players were getting. I think a good comparable is the guy who the Sabres wanted potentially in the deal when they traded Ryan O'Reilly was Robert Thomas, who I believe Robert Thomas got almost the exact same deal from St. Louis this year and has put up worse numbers. So, and Thomas is a winger. Tage right now is the Sabres' first line center. As guys in what? He's 22 or something? 24?
24.
Yeah, so this will take him till he's 31.
Wow.
We don't know of any no trade clauses or no movement deals yet
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything like that. But we'll find out over time. This just came out maybe half an hour ago to an hour ago or
I don't
something
think
like
he
that.
has anything like that.
Okay. Noah says no. So that seems to be the general consensus from the one over there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything about it. And
Yeah,
he
I
would've-
mean, more contract stuff comes out later a lot of the time, but
Yeah, I guess, but I feel like, you still would have seen something. And I mean, I just think it's just straight up.
Good.
well, that's interesting.
So when he starts to get bad near the end of his career,
Then you can
Do
move.
what you want with them.
Yeah, buy him out.
just trade him.
Trade him. Yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
People are comparing this to the Skinner deal, which I don't think is even remotely close to being the same thing. The Skinner deal was terrible. What was that, 9 years?
It was 9
Yeah.
million at 8.
9 million for 8 years. Okay.
This is
This is
7
7 for 7. I mean, you're not. I still don't feel like. I feel like 7 years is. I know you can only go to 8 in the NHL, but no, you can go higher.
10.
Well, I mean, you might be able to if he's like on your team for a specific amount of time or something. But I
Maybe
don't know. if
maybe you
they
have to
do
have
that
some sort of
anymore.
vested whatever. But no, I think 8 is the most you can go to, and that's if he's on your team for a certain amount of time is when you can add the extra year,
Yeah,
right? So
but
they
this is fine.
they didn't add the extra year because that would have taken him to 32, which we've talked about this before. That's old, according to Noah.
Well, and I mean, if you think about what Tage is, I mean, he acted like a center 1 next year, but I mean, in reality, he's a center 2. And how long do those guys last, especially when they throw their body around like Tage does and stuff? So
Yeah.
I
I wonder if a bigger guy could handle it better. Obviously, the NFL kind of shows that, right?
yeah, he is 6'7", so I that'll be interesting to see, I guess, how he holds up.
I mean, he doesn't have
I'm
a
just saying,
very
I mean,
small
like by
frame.
that point, how good is he gonna be? I feel like that's like the perfect, like 7 years was like the perfect amount of time.
That's what I think too. I mean, maybe 5 or whatever, but then you're shortcutting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're cutting yourself short because if he's
Could be his prime or whatever.
right,
Yeah.
he would be 28 and
Yeah.
scoring 45 a season with whatever. And,
Right, you'll probably have him right until he's about to drop off.
right.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is the right move. Some people were asking for us to sort of explain it. And someone said to put it into football terms, and Noah had a good explanation or thought about it, and it would be like the Bills signing Gabe Davis to high wide receiver 2 money now, which I think most people would be on board with, right?
Yeah, because I mean,
he's not completely proven, but I think people have
Right,
a
and
lot of
Tage
faith
had-
in Gabe Davis.
Tage had the one good season, and Gabe Davis has consistently showed you time and time again that he's a reliable target. So
Right.
yeah. So
But he still hasn't put one season together,
Right.
Like Tage did. But he's still
Right,
super
which is
high
what-
ceiling.
which is what we're expecting this season for Gabe, which is probably why he's going to get paid after this season.
After the season for more than $7 million a year.
Well, yeah.
So that's interesting news. That was exciting news to get something that was non-Bills like.
Yeah.
So
Everything okay? Sorry.
that's okay. Is everything okay?
He said my 10-year-old said yeah, so I guess we'll
Okay.
just
No,
like
yeah,
we went with
then
Noah on
obviously
the
everything's fine.
no trade clause. We're just gonna go with that.
That works. Cool. So from that, we'll have a short chat about Matt Ariza.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
A quick one.
All right.
Everyone knows what he did. Everyone knows where he's at, and it's not on the Bills anymore. Everyone knows why. I'm not going to even say the word.
Yeah, thank you.
And a lot of criticism is coming the Bills' way towards how they handled it. And I think if you ask the three of us, we probably have different thoughts on how well or how negatively, poorly is the better word, they handled it. So CJ, what are your thoughts on sort of how the Bills handled it?
I'm happier with the quick response once the more information started to come out. What I felt was somewhat concerning, I guess, would have been the aspect of them coming out saying that they had investigated it, and obviously to them, they're saying they investigated enough that they felt like it was still a good move to take him, right? And I think clearly either there was an oversight there, or somebody needs to be held accountable for with the lack of knowledge that came out of that investigation, I guess I would say. And not that I want somebody to sit there and be fired, but I think at the same time, there needs to be an understanding of what happened there and why there was this misunderstanding. And I mean, that's the best I can come up with. I think besides that, I like their response at the end. I like getting them off the team before the next preseason game. I really question what happened there with the investigation that they said they did.
That's fair. What about the fact that 30 other teams said they didn't know? Only 2 teams said they knew at the combine.
Said they knew that the allegations were present? Or
yeah.
Okay. And Bills being one of them, obviously, right?
No. Right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, the Bills didn't know at the combine.
They knew him a month ago.
They didn't know before drafting.
Correct.
They did or did not know before drafting.
They did not know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that changes it a little bit. It's tough for me because I kind of view it if you I don't want to say the guy's guilty without him having his, chance to explain his side and kind of, all that stuff. But I also think that the optics of him sending messages and his lawyer sending messages trying to pay them off or find a number. Yeah, right. And yeah, that exactly right. And I think that's enough that, you sit there and you're like, well, I'm glad he's gone. But at the same time, yeah, I don't think the Bills needed to deal with it. I didn't want to have that being a question after week 1 or, before week 1 about answering, some nonsense about that. And so I'm glad that they moved on from it. Hearing that information, I guess the question becomes, how much did they know and when did they know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think those are questions that are unanswered at this time.
Right.
I think when you talk about the fact that 2 teams did know and 30 other teams didn't, what did those 2 teams do right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they have an in with the San Diego State coach, or was it just they have a better investigative staff, or whatever it is?
Well, they might have responded to the emails from the girl's lawyer, but
yeah. So I want to pass it to you, Nolan. What are your thoughts on Ariza and how it's?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's gone. Obviously, no need for that in a locker room. I mean, there was a small sliver that he had a chance here, and then more stuff came out, and then he released this statement in the middle of the game, and I feel like that was kind of the nail in the coffin for him.
Yep.
You don't do that. I don't care how mad you are that they made you came in on the 3rd bus and tried to hide you.
Can you tell me what the statement was?
it was like everything will come to light and the truth will be revealed kind of thing. Like
right. It was like you don't know the whole story. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
the typical, and then the next day, the day after he's cut, his parents released a statement saying, our son has been vilified and our entire family's scared, and we've all been receiving death threats.
But they're really, as far as I knew, like his family was pretty well off, though. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like without him needing to go or do
Correct.
like NFL or anything like that, right? So unfortunately, from their position,
that's what they said. He's lost his job.
Nobody wants to hear from a person in power about how, you know what I'm saying? Like the person in power didn't take advantage of somebody that's not in power. You know what I mean? Like no person on our level, like wants to hear that, or would even like sit there and be like, oh, well, they got a good point. It's just like they should have been quiet. I don't think they should have said it. The parents should have said anything, because it's just like you're privileged, and you know what I'm saying? You have the ability to have the avenues to get this information out to people, whereas most people probably don't. And it's just, people just don't want to hear from them right now, I don't think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of unanswered questions here. I mean, cool, the Bills cut him, but what did they know? Is it true that they really got emails from the girl's lawyer, and then all of a sudden they just stopped communicating with them, and then a few days later, Hack is miraculously cut, and Ariza wins the punting job?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Timing's
Did
weird.
you guys actually? I mean, I do believe that they didn't know at the draft, because I would like to think that they
wouldn't do that.
Wouldn't draft him.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it comes to the other teams knowing, I mean, teams don't share information. They don't care.
I think some do.
I don't think they do about something like this, because
I don't know.
it's like knowing about a player's injury.
Yeah, like I almost think that what they're pushing in the NFL nowadays goes against what that would entail, right? So like they're really pushing inclusivity, and domestic violence is a very important subject. And so for a team to know about it and not say things, like, to me, that kind of goes against what they're really trying to push.
Well, and the other part of that could be is how much did the team know? I mean, the team could be like, well, we have these allegations, but do we want to bring these forward?
Ruin this kid's career
before he's even
because I mean honestly, Ariza could turn around and sue the team for libel, if it turns out that these allegations aren't true. I don't think that I think that they are.
Well, he told her to admitted it.
Well, yeah, and then he told her to get an STD test. I
mean, he's admitted it over the wiretap or whatever it was. So he admitted he did it. He told her to get an STD
over
test.
The wiretap. I'm sorry.
Yeah, whatever it was.
They listened in while she called him.
The lawyers did.
The police.
Really?
Right? Yeah. They have it on tape.
Oh wow!
Because there is a criminal lawsuit that's still
incredibly
in the works.
Stupid.
Yeah. But she filed for a civil lawsuit. Both lawyers, I think, have been doing a terrible job representing their clients. I don't think that that's relevant, or we need to really dive into that.
No, I don't think it changes the who's right or wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Just that they're bad lawyers.
Just that they're bad lawyers, right? They both made a ton of mistakes, but I mean, I don't know what to say other than like the optics are bad for the Bills, even though
I mean, they basically just applied a Band-Aid.
They did the best they could.
Right.
Once the wound, but it was a gash that was open.
Well, right. I mean,
right?
They applied a Band-Aid to like a knife wound. Like,
right.
There's so many like I said, there's so many unanswered questions about the way they handled it, the time that they knew the information, like based off when Hack was cut, when they named him starter. Like, when did you if you knew a month ago, and then you're saying
You
you
sat
did
on
your
it.
own investigation and you felt comfortable, and then now you're saying, well, we didn't have the information that came out now, even though the information you supposedly got this information already. So were you purposely ignoring information that was given to you about the case, or did you just choose to go, well, this is unfounded, with nothing proving that? So
Another part that looks bad, and which I think you're trying to say, is just that there's a scenario where the team was just hoping that this would go away.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the question is how much did they choose, we want to win football games versus we want to do the right thing?
Right. Because during Bean's press conference, when he said, I'm just the GM and McDermott's just the coach, that's not good enough. Like, to me, that's not a good enough thing to say.
Well, right. And it's like, when you're doing this investigation, the supposed investigation, when you got these allegations, are you guys not the ones ordering the people to do the investigation?
Right.
Or are you at least not in on that decision if this is coming from Terry and Kim? Which, and this
Terry.
completely sucks, because Terry's a bumbling idiot and Kim is nowhere to be seen. Is in,
Right.
So we don't know if she's in a hospital or if she's at home. No one knows where she is. So this is really great to have this moment when you have an owner who can't stop saying the most stupid things every single time he opens his mouth, and the one owner who's actually good at her job, right, missing because you don't know what's going on. So
yeah, I think if Kim was in charge, that this would have been handled very differently. I mean, she has a huge representation in both the NHL and the NFL as a female owner in sports, and on the female owner in sports committee across all of
she's
sports
on, like,
leagues,
the diversity
and
boards and the women's boards, and she has her own podcast with Maddie Glab where they talk about women in sports, and they literally only interview women in sports. Like, it's a huge thing for her. So.
Right. So, I mean, I think this would have been handled differently. The thing that bothers me about the Carolina game is that it actually bothers me that they kept him on the roster for those 2 days.
They had to. Rosters froze. So they couldn't cut him.
Rosters were frozen?
Yeah. Rosters freeze at a certain time before the game. And by the time... I mean, they could have cut him.
Didn't he get released mid-game?
No.
He got released the next day.
Oh, yeah. The next day, but it came out 2 days before the Carolina game.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess I don't know why you would still even bring him on the plane, though.
They were already in Carolina by the time this broke.
Like, when it blew up.
Yeah. So I mean, there really wasn't anything to do. I mean,
that's tough.
If you cut him. I mean, why not just wait till you get home? Basically, I mean, that's kind of the way I felt about it. I mean, that's besides the roster freezing, just wait till you get home. Whatever, he can take the plane back. He can sit and coach. And
you think they have coach on the Bills plane?
You stick him on a plane. You stick him on another plane that's not the Bills plane, and you stick him in coach, and you don't have him ride back with the team, and you cut him like you did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a hassle to cut a player on the road than it is to just do it at home.
I don't know. You would think they have their cut guy who handles all their travel stuff wherever they go.
Yeah.
Well, it could have also.
I mean, if Vontae Davis is leaving it mid-game, and I know,
well,
I know it wasn't home,
walked out of the stadium, but
yeah, but still, So, anything anyone wants to add
No, we're good.
to that?
Fantasy football.
I think we can, hopefully just move on from that for now and be done with it.
Okay. Bills screwed up.
Yeah,
Could have done better. And
need to do better. You know what I mean? Like, need to do better.
Yeah,
than that.
they need to do a root analysis of why this went south.
Exactly. Yep.
And figure it out. And like you said, CJ, I think someone needs to be held accountable.
Someone needs to get fired.
And
being honest.
Yeah.
They may make it public, or they may just keep it in house and say we took care of it, and you just don't know. But Bills roster cuts.
Oh, you don't want to do.
No, let's do roster cuts first, and then do fantasy.
Okay.
So Bills roster cuts came today. 2 surprises.
Yeah. I don't think,
if any. I mean, nothing
yeah,
earth shattering, but I guess out of all of it, 2 surprises.
I mean, them cutting Duke Johnson to me isn't that much a surprise, because it's like it was when it came out that they had zero interest in trading Zach Moss. I think that was kind of the writing on the wall for him.
Yeah. Or he may be back. I mean, you just don't know.
Well, that's true. I mean, Marquez Stevenson is going to go on IR, obviously.
Right.
And I think a couple other guys. Trey went on the PUP. So
Right.
That's a roster spot.
Sucks.
So they're at 51, but they're going to have to cut someone to sign a punter unless they decide not to punt.
Or unless this is just the roster and they're just planning to use Stevenson's IR spot. Because I think the Trey spot might have been
taken.
Yeah. Because I think they had to put him on the list before 4 o'clock. So they would have had to release the cuts with him on the list.
Yeah, he was part of the
pre. Okay, so right. So they put him on the list before the cuts, because if you don't put him on the list before the cuts, he's out for 8 games. But by doing it this way, he's out for 4 games. I believe that's how it works. And I could be completely wrong. So I want to go real quick through all the cuts. And then we'll talk about. So I wasn't even talking about Duke Johnson as the surprise.
I think you're referring to Howard, but I don't even think I guess Howard's a surprise just because he was like hyped when he first was picked up.
But Howard is a surprise to be taken or to be let go over Tommy Sweeney.
Well, I think to your casual, like more normal Bills fan, it's definitely a surprise. But from people that watched preseason, seen that, like heard what the announcers were talking about, you know what I mean? Like it was clear that they liked the backup. Yeah,
and definitely. Also that Howard just wasn't fitting.
Yeah, and he didn't seem to. Yeah. But it sucks because you didn't even see him with Josh. His
blocking was bad. Yeah, he never clicked.
Right?
Yeah. In those 3 plays that Josh was in, they didn't click. But no, I mean his blocking didn't work. Yes, he did catch a touchdown, but I think anyone could have caught that. It wasn't anything special. Yeah. They said he couldn't pick up the offense. He was really struggling to pick up the offense. So he gets to walk away from the Bills with a guaranteed $3.125 million.
Wow.
So that's a cap hit the Bills decided to take. That's how much or how little the Bills think of OJ Howard. Is they're willing to just say, go.
Jeez.
Tell him $625K next year too.
Do that.
Going back to Tage, it includes a limited no movement.
A limited?
5 teams from year 2 to 7.
5 teams. Okay.
Wait, say that again. 5 teams. What does that mean?
He can block 5 teams.
So the first 5 or whatever. So say he doesn't like the first 5, and then the 6th one he has to take.
No, he just has a list. He would give them a list before they make
5.
Before they make a trade. Like
it.
They would say, "We're looking at trades. What's your list?"
I want
he would
these.
say, "I don't want to go to Boston, or
Oh,
whatever. And
okay.
he
Oh,
would
I
just
like
say
him. I like him even more now.
he would just give his list of 5 before, and then the Sabres wouldn't bother talking with those 5 teams. Usually the list is much bigger than 5. It's at least 10. So a 5 team, no movement is really weird. But it's something. And if that brought it down by
Well, that's what I'm saying.
half a million or something per season, then cool.
I mean, that's probably what it was for.
Yeah. And maybe there's 5 teams that he absolutely hates.
I think it's more of like a good gesture from the team, but at the same time, the team also saying like, "Hey, you're good, but you're not there yet to the point where we think you deserve 10, or whatever."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we'll give you something to show that we
Yeah.
respect you and whatever. But
Yeah. So I'm gonna read through the players who were cut. And then we'll talk about whatever. So quarterback Matt Barkley, backup center Greg Mance, rookie tackle Luke Tenuta, rookie lineman, I think he was playing tackle, but also guard Alec Anderson, running back Raheem Blackshear, running back Duke Johnson, wide receiver Tanner Gentry, wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins, tight end OJ Howard, defensive end Mike Love, defensive end Kingsley Jonathan, defensive tackle Brandon Bryant, defensive tackle Prince Emili, defensive tackle CJ Brewer, linebacker Joe Giles Harris, defensive back Nick McLeod, defensive back DeMarcus Ingram. The only other surprise, I guess, is Hodgins. And to me, Brandon Bryant, I think, was a numbers game. I think Joe Giles Harris is like a AAA baseball player. That's how it comes across to me. I think they brought Matt Barkley here with him knowing he would be put on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not going anywhere. He will be their practice squad quarterback. If they pick someone else up, good for them. But Barkley's here to doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Mance is a little bit of a surprise, but not a ton, just because he could play backup center.
Yeah, but they're gonna have Bakker coming back or Bates, and they're gonna have.
Yeah, Bates can slide over, and when Bakker gets back, he can obviously play guard. There was somebody else too. But
I don't know. I mean, there wasn't anybody. I mean, I this was just the group of guys.
I wasn't happy about Blackshear.
But again, I mean, it's the Duke Johnson thing.
Yeah, they do this every year. To be honest, there's
number
always a guy that shows in
same with
preseason.
Blackshear.
Christian Wade, whatever you want to call it,
team. He's not anything better than any of these other unsigned free agents. If the Bills lose him, okay.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I like I was saying, I just get attached to these guys from preseason, like last year.
You know what I mean? Like he's what they keep, not including Taiwan Jones. They kept 3.
Cook, Moss, and Singletary.
I mean, we could have said this going in.
It was. I mean, once they said they weren't training Zach Moss, I mean that was kind of the end of the rest of the running backs,
right?
Because it was just obvious that they felt Zach Moss brought more than those 2 guys. So,
yeah,
and I mean but then and again, it's the same thing on the defensive line,
Yeah,
I don't think Brandon Bryant showed anything more than what you're going to get out of a guy like Daquan Jones or Tim Settle.
Yeah, again, it's just a numbers game. I mean, the way that they were able to bring guys in the offseason.
I think the other part of this is Von Miller. Von Miller being able to play linebacker and end. I mean, you're going to play him at end, but
right. like it's and Mike Love is in the same position. He showed out during the games, but it was against 2s and 3s, and he was chasing guys down and putting pressure on. But Von Miller didn't play, and I mean, you look at this stuff. Other things that happened: Arthur Smith was put on the suspension list.
Arthur Smith.
Andre.
Right? What's his name?
Andre
Smith.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Arthur.
They kept 7 cornerback. I mean, the other part. Well, and then the other thing with some of these guys was Benford coming in.
Right.
They kept 7 DBs,
and that's not including.
Right. So they have 6. And that's not right. That's not including Trey.
Right. So they kept 6
cornerbacks. Cam Lewis.
But they must have liked Cam Lewis enough.
Right.
His versatility.
All these guys.
No, his versatility to play, because he showed he could play safety and.
Yeah, he's much better at safety.
And corner. So, I mean, go UB. Right?
Yeah.
He's the UB one. And I mean, I just see it as, if you were putting together the 53-man roster 3 months ago, you probably would have been 3 players off.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this wasn't hard. I don't know. I mean, obviously, having Benford come alive changed a little bit. I don't think I would have had him.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I would have kept Bernard. I would have kept Spector. I don't think I would have chosen.
I think Spector is the other one who came on. Right. Yeah. And the thing is, and this was an interesting take that I read on Spector a couple days ago, before the cuts, was that you have him cost control for the next 3 years, and this is the last season of Matakevich.
Yeah.
So Spector, you can slide into the Matakevich role.
Absolutely.
And he's also probably already a better linebacker than Matakevich is.
Right, but I mean, I'm not picking. I mean, they let Marquel Lee go really early, after the first preseason game.
Right.
So then, I mean, really, their only competition was Joe Giles Harris, who I don't think is making the roster. Right, he's making the roster, and Andre Smith is suspended. So
right,
we can worry about that in 6 games.
Right.
But I mean, when you look at who made it and who didn't, I don't think I'm choosing any of these guys over who we have.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. As long as they keep Bobby Hart at guard. CJ, do you have any thoughts?
Like I said, I like Blackshear just.
Are you on mute?
Am I now? Okay.
Can you not hear him?
I can't hear him. Oh, my speakers aren't on.
Ay, ay,
ay. Ay, ay, ay.
Check.
It's my fault, CJ.
Check.
You're good.
Check.
He muted himself.
Check. Oh, okay. I was wondering, because I had said something earlier and nobody responded to it, so I guess I'll make my point again then.
Go for it.
Nobody heard it. I just, you always get attached to these preseason guys, and I just think that, that's why I like Blackshear a lot. What was it last year? Christian Wade. You just see these guys and they do well on this field, and you just kind of want to give them an opportunity in a real game. But in reality, they have a very good idea of what guys they want at each position. And, a lot of them we have solid starters and a good backup. So, it's not really a need for the team, and to waste the roster spot to keep them, I think is really where, what it comes down to. So yeah, I'm not super surprised, a little bit upset about OJ, just because I'd like to see what he could have done in a game with, a double tight end. And just, we were salivating thinking about that when he first got drafted. So I kind of a little disappointed to not be able to see that, but I mean, I guess at the end of the day, you just kind of believe in what we've been doing, and they make the right moves, so you stick by it.
Yeah. No, I think that's valid. The what was I gonna say? Oh,
I don't know.
So, I guess the players who came on, right? Like we already talked about, what's his face, Lewis and the linebacker, Spectre, and I mean Crowder made it.
Yep.
Right. So the Bills signed him. No, I mean they must have just said he's gonna make it. Quentin Morris played like crazy. The other nice thing about Quentin Morris, he's fast, converted. He really learned how to block in the off season, and he's the right size to be a backup for Reggie Gilliam if Gilliam goes down. Whereas OJ Howard wasn't. And for whatever reason, the Bills love Tommy Sweeney. So we kind of felt like he wasn't going anywhere. We talked about Marquez Stevenson, that the Bills had to keep him. So they had to keep him through the 53-man.
Right, but he's going on IR.
But he's going on IR almost immediately. And
Over here.
Shoot. And so from there, I don't know.
Good.
Huh? I'm
Want
not sure.
to move on to fantasy? Why
Well,
don't we do that?
no, I was just
okay.
gonna ask if there were any players who were cut. If you guys have been able to look at any other players who were cut from any other teams, who might be interesting, to the Bills. Here's an interesting fantasy move. The Texans released Marlon Mack, which further establishes Dameon Pierce as their starting running back.
He is their starter.
Well,
I know,
but Lovey came out and said he wasn't. Like yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday before cuts.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings made some strange moves, cutting Kellen Mond.
He sucks.
He does suck, but he was just a number one pick last year. The Raiders made some interesting moves.
Just because he's a number one pick doesn't mean he's bad.
No, Mond was a third round pick. But the Raiders cut Alex Leatherwood, who was a number one pick.
Yeah, but
who was terrible last year.
Yeah.
But he's still a number one pick. He'll end up on a roster somewhere. And you would think a guy like Cromer is someone who can turn around these guys, because Minnesota cut Wyatt Davis as well, who is a guard, and is a very interesting higher end, high potential guard, young guy, and that kind of thing. And I think Cromer might be able to do some good stuff today. Broncos released punter Sam Martin. He was a top 5 punter statistically in 2021. My guess is he's going to be in Buffalo soon, for a tryout. Brett Kern was released by Tennessee. He was beaten out by a rookie. Brett Kern is from Grand Island, so I think people might be pulling for him a little bit. Kern is also a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's bowled a 300 3 times in his career. Um,
Nice.
Cowboys
Ayo.
let Alec Lindstrom go.
huh?
I said the Cowboys let Alec Lindstrom go.
Offensive.
Center.
Yeah. Okay. So that might be someone to look at. Who else you got, Noah?
Denver let go Natane Moti. I definitely didn't say that right. Guard. But I mean, like so far, there isn't anyone.
Mike Purcell is a nice inside guy, but the Bills are stacked.
Right.
Dylan Parham at tight end.
Mm.
Devin Funchess at tight end. I mean, these guys are both better. I'm just gonna say it; they're both better than Tommy Sweeney.
Yeah, but I don't think they're getting rid of Tommy Sweeney.
Yeah, I don't know if they're better than OJ Howard though.
Yeah, but it's an interesting thing about Howard is just I don't think he fit in the end.
Right.
Like he just didn't fit the Bills system and what they're trying to do. And I was having the same conversation because someone was talking to me about how they were so upset that Hodgins got cut, but Kumaro got to stay. And my basic gist was, okay, Hodgins proved he can't play special teams. Right now, the Bills must be very worried about special teams and the punting game, especially. We know Kumaro can really play special teams very well. The difference between their catching skills, I don't know. I don't feel like we've seen enough out of Hodgins to say Hodgins
but
is
neither
a great
one of those
receiver.
guys are even going to see the field.
I think Hodgins has more upside, but
Hodgins has more upside, yes. But Kumaro and Allen have chemistry.
no, I'm with you. Yeah.
And for this season, this team with their plan, the with their plan being the Super Bowl, Kumaro makes way more sense than Hodgins.
Well, and
in my opinion,
also had Bean who said that we're going to pick the guy who's better on special teams over the guy who showed that he's just good at his position. So
right.
Yeah, Hodgins sucks at special teams. That's why I didn't make the roster. I think it's that simple.
Makes sense. Who did I just see? Vernon Butler got cut. Not that the Bills should pick him up, but he got cut again. Like you said, when you're going through these teams, there's nobody who just stands out and goes, just wow.
Yeah,
and
there's no one I really want to add to the active roster.
No,
that's for sure. Sure, there's some guys you can target for practice squad, but
most of the guys the Bills cut, I think, will end up on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So moving on to fantasy, we did the AFC last week, but we do have a question from one of our viewers about Isaiah Pacheco. And his ability, been the talk of Chiefs camp. Another one of these running backs who may be more of a longer term project than a short term. I don't know.
I mean, I think this comes down to he just has to show he belongs.
I mean, I get why he's asking the question. I think there's been a lot of hype in the past, maybe not in the last week or so, but past 2 weeks he did have, real good preseason showings, and so, people build a lot or like kind of take a lot of that, especially for fantasy, but in reality, they're going to give Clyde Edwards-Helaire the first shot, and I'm not even sure he'll be in there third down. I think McKinnon will start the season on third down. And
I
with
agree
them
with that as
two,
well.
with them two, I think McKinnon will eventually take over the starting job eventually. But I don't see Pacheco being strong enough to supplant McKinnon or Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Right. I think the problem is with him being a 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Being able to pick up the offense. You know, you're playing against vanilla defenses and you're playing a vanilla offense in the preseason. So I don't know that it should be on your draft board.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe for,
12
like,
team,
keeper.
12 team
Yeah,
late rounder.
it depends on. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to give us a little bit more scenario about your league, Eric, we definitely be more willing to give that a little bit more about. We'd be able to hone in. Yeah, we'd be able to hone in a little better. So if
but in a generic, nah. Yeah, I mean, he has to show he belongs. And
he's
I mean,
definitely more worth
But
it.
will he get the
in a
looks?
PPR?
And then
right.
you have Gore, who's going to come back also.
I mean, you have Clyde. Their 4 running back are Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Ronald Jones, McKinnon, and then Pacheco.
Yeah. So they have Ronald Jones as well. But Jones was the 2nd worst running back to get off the line in the entire league last year for receptions.
Well, that's why you have Jared McKinnon. I mean,
that's why you have McKinnon.
I mean, if he's able to show that he can be the hot hand, then he'll just have to compete with Helaire for touches. But first, he has to show that.
Yeah,
you can't, and unless you have a long-term league. You have a whatever dynasty league.
That's true. If it's a dynasty league, it might be worth
definitely.
It's definitely a different kind of thing. But if you still are there, Eric, and you want to add some more. We can dig deeper, or if you have more questions, feel free. Right now, based on your standard, I guess, as we were saying, 10 to 12 team PPR league or half PPR league, probably not worth it this season. Unless someone goes down. Someone goes down and he lights it up.
So let's get into our fantasy conversation.
Well, our other comment came from Brenda, who said she was surprised about Blackshear. Blackshear should be back, I would think, on the practice squad.
Probably.
If he's not, the Bills will pick up another running back and have them on the practice squad. Because they're never going to put Tywan Jones in at running back. So, so you're really 3 deep. If one guy goes down, you're 2 deep. But I know they said that they also told Duke Johnson, hey, you have a generic last name, that's what you get. Duke Johnson, that if he can't land a starting job, that they would love to have him on the practice squad as well. So if they can get Blackshear and Johnson on the practice squad, I would be more than happy to feel set about their running back situation for the rest of the season, unless they get a string of injuries or something like that.
I could see Duke Johnson going back to Houston.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the relationship there was pretty not good.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right.
Yeah. So on to fantasy. I'm getting there. Sorry, guys. NFC East. That's where we're going to start.
Okay.
We're going to go east, north, south, west.
Okay. Let's get started.
Oh, it is grumpy. So Dallas. Dallas is an interesting combination of potential good players and top tier.
Dallas.
Yeah.
I watched CD Lamb fall into like the third round 2 nights ago, and I just was beyond shocked.
Did you get him?
No, I had a 12th pick, so mine. It was like I went 1-2, and
Yeah.
then third would have been late, right? So then I would have been 3-4. So
Gotcha. I think from what I've been reading also that Dak is being drafted lower than he probably should be,
oh yeah,
in my opinion. He just, I don't know. There's something about Dak that people don't like. You know what I mean?
is it Dallas or is it him? You know what
I
I
don't
mean?
know. He seems like such a good guy. Like,
I think it has to do with like they don't win.
right.
Like they're always losing, but he always puts up really good stats every year, but they don't win anything.
Yeah.
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 I mean, he had 4,449 yards last year, but they got
was
bounced
hurt a good
first round
amount,
of
right,
playoffs. 37 touchdowns.
37
his
touchdowns.
career.
Yeah. Maybe they're just still hung up on the year before when he went down, and
I mean, he was on pace for another 5,000. He
yeah,
was on pace for 5,000 plus.
that season
Yeah, when he broke his ankle.
when he
Oof,
was on
But yeah, I mean, 2019, 4,902 yards, 30 touchdowns, 11.
Well, you also have the issue of him losing.
Tavon Armstrong,
He just lost.
Tavon Smith,
Yes, Tyrone.
Oh yes,
Smith.
Tyrone Smith. Yeah.
So you lost him. You
You have a
lost
generic last
Cooper.
name.
You lost Cedric Wilson. You know what I mean? I think that is really where the why his taken a dip in value.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, to start off the season, right?
And Gallup avoided the PUP.
Gallup avoided the PUP, so he's coming back sooner rather
Yeah,
than
I like
later.
Gallup a lot. I think he'll be good.
Jalen Tolbert is the other,
And that
Wide
Cavante Turpin guy.
and Lamb is the slot.
I think Lamb is your guaranteed at least top 10 wide receiver.
He's your must draft cowboy. I think.
Yep.
The other, Dak
I
is
like
as
Gallup
well.
late.
Yep. You must draft Dak. What is up with me?
Yeah.
You must draft Dak at some point.
Yeah, but I think like if you have the option to take CeeDee Lamb, you're going to take him. Like I think I'd put him up there in the conversation of like debate between like him and Justin Jefferson or
What?
Ooh, no. I mean, I could hear the argument for him or Adams, right?
Wow, you guys are really high on him.
But I'm not going.
1100.
Well, I think the reason I say this is because there's question marks with Adams, as far as how he'll do in that new offense.
Yeah.
I think Jefferson is just a little bit too high because he's going like top 5, like you know what I mean, or top 8.
Yeah.
Whereas CD is going to be early second round, you know. So I think Adams has a lot of questions, and I think CD does have some questions, but at the same time, it's like how many questions could he really have, being like the only guy in the offense that clearly Dak has a relationship with, you know what I mean, has good chemistry with. So
Dak has good chemistry with Pollard as well.
Okay, but that's not going to take away from CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. And he had great chemistry with Dalton Schultz as well,
True.
who
I think both will step up.
I'm way
you
higher
think
on
he's, like,
Schultz.
first overall pick.
I'm way higher on Schultz, I know, than either of you are. But
Yeah.
I like Schultz a lot. I just like Schultz. Any other Cowboys to cover?
Don't draft Zeke.
Yeah.
Don't draft Zeke. If you're going to draft a running back, take Pollard and go for it. Pollard would be much more beneficial in a PPR league
Yeah.
where yards where you get a lot of points for yards and not touchdowns. Because Elliott's going to steal a lot of touchdowns probably. I know we were not going to talk a lot of defense, but on defense, where do you stand with Trayvon Diggs? Number one corner?
No.
Fantasy corner?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. No, top 5.
I think top 5.
Who's your number one fantasy corner? Noah.
Not Trayvon Diggs.
Ramsey?
No. They don't throw to him enough. Diggs gets blown in coverage enough that he'll make the tackles, but also he has the reason why he makes those pick sixes or whatever is because he's takes that like I'm gonna try this, and sometimes he just gets blown by, and the guy blows right by him. But sometimes he's right on the read, and it'll be a walk-in touchdown. So he takes a lot of risk, and I think that fits well with fantasy because that's points, pass deflections.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not the best coverage guy, so they're not scared to throw his way. You know what I mean? Like, is what I feel. But
yeah,
which is most cornerbacks. You got to think the safety position is much more enticing for fantasy than any cornerback, really.
Oh, definitely, just because they can roam and tackle. Right?
Yeah, that's their job, right? So you're getting more. But as far as cornerbacks, your bad cornerbacks are the ones you want, but Diggs is kind of weird in that, like, he's not the best coverage guy, but he does take the risk and put himself in a position to get a touchdown or an interception probably any time during a game.
He is actually the worst coverage guy.
See, that's why he's so good for fantasy, though.
He gave up the most yards of any cornerback last season.
I believe that. I knew that was the case. I knew he was terrible in coverage. I just know that he plays his positioning well, and his interceptions were real high in touchdowns because he was so bad in coverage that like he'd try to make up for it by undercutting a route once in a while, and he'd get it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Giants. Lead us through the Giants.
I don't think there's anybody.
Saquon. I'm gonna Saquon. No, I really think that Saquon's on a mission this year.
I think Tony will be good this year too. I think Saquon will be good.
When Matt Breida's your backup, I mean, they're clearly relying on Saquon to be their bell cow. And
yeah, okay. Can that offensive line actually create a hole?
Well, they added some guys, didn't they? I mean, I think Feliciano they added at center, which is where he's good, or he's average.
I mean, the best guy on their roster, the best guy on their line is Evan Neal, and he's a rookie. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, Saquon's gonna get his touches, and he'll get his. Yeah. He's probably, honestly, I think he's more better for PPR, in my opinion, because I don't know how much they're gonna be able to run it behind him, and I don't know how much I trust his ACL and him to be able to do the things that he did, where he was very Le'Veon Bell-esque and was able to maneuver his way through the holes. Does he still have that one cut ability?
I think that's done. I think the rookie Barkley will never be here again.
Right. So I think that greatly, honestly, decreases his fantasy value, because if he has to run behind that offensive line, he's not going to be able to make the cuts to with the guys.
If he get 300 touches, though, it ain't going to matter. You know what I mean? Like, if he gets 300 touches, it won't matter.
Right. If he gets 300 touches but 800 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Well, what would that? If 300 touches, what would 800 yards be? That'd be like abysmal, wouldn't it be? Like, wouldn't it be?
That would be truly abysmal. Yes.
That would be under. That'd be 2.8 or something.
Okay.
2.7 yards a carry.
Okay, so that, like, I'm just saying that, like, with that amount of touches, you're gonna get points from it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be flashy, like you said, but I think he can settle in a high RB2. He can get back to if he can get anywhere close to what he did in the rookie and second year, he'll RB1 for sure.
What were his stats last year? Like, were they terrible?
He was hurt for a lot of the
162 attempts, 593 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
So
How
he
many games
averaged
played?
3.7,
Play. Yeah, 3.7. I mean, he's only averaged 4.5
and he
on
had
his
41
career,
receptions,
so-
which is impressive.
Right, which is why I think you're
Yeah.
looking at him more from
Yeah.
a PPR
Right.
than anything else.
Which fits Dable's offense.
And what they're, I mean, also you have to trust that
Daniel Jones
isn't
or
having
Tyrod Taylor is going to get the ball out.
well, and that Daniel Jones isn't having the meltdown that everyone's saying that he is.
Agreed.
Not taking Kenny Galladay.
No.
Not taking Galladay.
No. He had 1 catch in the preseason for 6 yards.
They're just hiding him.
Yeah, I don't put much stock into the preseason stuff, but especially with guys like that. Like, I don't know. Like, did Kamara touch the ball in the preseason?
Yeah, but he played though. This wasn't like a.
Oh,
You mean
okay.
Galladay played?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the Eagles. The Eagles are somewhat stacked, I would say.
What do you guys think about that trade today?
Like a mid-range stack. Yeah, I like it.
I want it. I love him.
Chauncey or CJ Gardner.
Oh yeah, he's gonna play safety for them, right?
Yeah, I love him. I think he's great. I
Yeah.
think he's like, to me, that's a Philly. And it's so funny. Like, what I was thinking about earlier today was like the amount of trades, DBs that go from Philly to New Orleans or New Orleans. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I just swear to God that, like, didn't Darby go to New Orleans also, or
Yep, and
then Jenkins back from,
Jenkins,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's like they got this connection between the DB. But I think he fits that Philly like dog. You know what I mean? Like, give me a Brian
Yeah.
Dawkins, right? You think of the safeties from Philly, and they've had good ones, over
Yeah,
years. Jenkins, Dawkins,
Vincent.
and so I think he fits that tough, hard hitter, nose for a football type. I think I think it's a good trade for him. I think Philly,
Yeah.
like you said, they're all in at this point.
They better be.
They gotta be. I mean, out of Dallas and Philly, who do you think wins the division?
The division.
Philly.
Giants. No.
Wasn't the option, but yeah.
No, I think Philly's probably on track. Probably, as long as Hurts doesn't get hurt.
Well, Hurts doesn't get hurt, but if Hurts could play at a level maybe a little higher than last year, I think they'll win it. You know what I mean? I don't know if Hurts' level of play last year or in the playoffs, that level of play is high enough to warrant winning the division. But if it'll really depend on Hurts and what he can do with a Brown and all the other weapons and stuff. But the defense is gonna be good. So.
Yeah, they added Jason Hargrave too. I forgot about that on defense.
Yeah.
So you have Fletcher Cox and Jason Hargrave inside.
Big guys.
Scary.
That's pretty scary. With Jordan Davis behind them.
It's a nice rotation.
That's a nice rotation, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be good.
So at receiver, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins.
Yeah, you're going Brown.
And Jalen Rieger is their fourth receiver. So to me, they're pretty loaded receiver wise.
Yep.
Obviously, AJ is their number one. But Devontae Smith had a great season last year. And there's no reason to think he will tail off. Running backs, I mean, they're very good at mixing their running backs and getting good production. But from a fantasy standpoint, it's a bit tricky because you never know who's going to go off.
Yeah.
God, I did it again.
You gotta press.
I did.
You didn't. No, you didn't.
I don't know why. I put you on mute again.
But,
sorry.
I think Jalen Hurts should be high up there.
I agree. I think Hurts should be again top 10,
Yeah.
especially in a running league. You know, a league that rewards for running, which all of them do.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, and they have a pretty good offensive line. I mean, they have their guys in Dickerson, Kelsey, and Lane Johnson, and then 2 plug-in guys. So I mean, I think from that standpoint, we feel like the Eagles are stacked and in a good spot.
Yep.
Commanders of Washington. Okay, this is interesting. Why does it keep doing this? Okay. Can you?
You're not. It's this one.
I pressed it. It's like doing it because I'm pressing something over here or something. Anyway, their receivers are their strongest spot. I think
you're just looking at Terry McLaurin.
Dotson, and Curtis Samuel are a pretty nice trio. Assuming Dotson balls out. Logan Thomas still a tight end. I guess your problem is the quarterback.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where you go with running back. You go to the running backs with Gibson and McKissick, and then the rookie Brian Robinson. What's his face got Jarrett Patterson got cut today. Bills maybe look at him. But so that's really it. CJ, what are your thoughts on I guess the talent of the wide receivers is pretty high, but then you add them to Wentz, and where does it go?
I think McLaurin will have a year similar to what Pittman did last year.
Okay.
For Wentz.
Yeah.
So I think that was a pretty good year for him, and
Yeah.
I would think that's a good year for McLaurin. And the only, I don't know. I think what Wentz has in Washington is better than what he had in Indy.
Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, so I think you are giving him a good, platform to start on. It's tough because he just doesn't maximize the value of the players around him. So
Right.
to say that I could see, I mean, the only thing I could see is that if Samuel, the slot guys, sometimes they can get, real attached to him, and he could take away from McLaurin. So, but I genuinely believe McLaurin can do something similar to what Pittman does or what Pittman did.
That's an interesting take. I'll be interested to see how that plays out. So you're a little bit higher on Wentz than it sounds like me and Noah are.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
I think he'll have a better year than he did in Indy, which isn't saying too much. But I think he'll be better this year.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair.
In the division, more used to the teams.
Yeah. True. Have an agenda against Philly,
Yeah.
Moving on to the Bears. What do we think about Justin Fields here? He's a boomer bust, right?
Yeah. And I mean, he got killed behind that offensive line in the preseason.
The final preseason game, I think he went for 2 touchdowns. I want to say there were like 2 bigger scores on it, and they felt like that was the start. I think they had said that they felt like his performance, he and the team felt like his performance there was the start of, good things to come. I think he takes a step this year. I don't think that the line will be as bad as it was last year. So I think he steps up. When he had a clean pocket, he could find a receiver fine. So I think he'll do well. I truly believe Mooney will be top 10 to top 15 wide receiver easily. And then I think Kmet, the tight end there, is also, a guy that you can look at later rounds if you miss even the Goddard, Hawkinson, Knox rounds. A little bit after that, I think you could look at Kmet because there's going to be a lot of targets and not a lot of guys that are going to take those targets besides Mooney and what I think Kmet will do. So I think I just don't think there's anything else really of an option there besides those two. So
I mean, their other guys are Byron Pringle and Equinemius St. Brown.
Yeah.
I think the guy to look on in the second half of the season would be Velus Jones. I think Keneal Harry he made the team, but I don't think he's in the conversation. N'Keal Harry. That's what I said, right?
N'Keal.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what I said. Of course, David Montgomery is a stud at running back. I know we keep saying top 10 for the past 20 players, but top 10?
I put him, yeah.
I mean, he's another
fantasy.
He's another bell cow.
Yeah. Gets his numbers.
He's going to get his numbers, that kind of thing. What's the status on Roquan Smith on defense?
He's playing.
He is playing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So on defense, I think Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn are probably your guys. And those are the ones to target. Beyond that, anything to add, CJ? Noah?
Nope. Those are my guys.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Boy, where were we? Detroit. Hard Knocks, right? They're an interesting team, right? We've had a lot of discussion about Jared Goff. A lot of discussion. I feel more than some podcasts in Detroit may have had about Jared Goff. We've had enough discussion about him. Detroit has built up their offensive line to be one of the best in the league, which I think spells well when you have a guy like Goff who may not be able to process as quickly as a lot of the other quarterbacks, just to give him that extra second. And we saw his connection with Amon-Ra St. Brown last year and really pick up in the second half. Do we put Hawkinson in the top 5, top 7?
Tight ends?
Yeah.
Top 7, top 8.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. And DeAndre Swift, I don't know what's up with me. Where he's a pass receiver, you know.
Yeah, he's a PPR guy. We'll get that's my Jameson Williams, rookie. I think he'll have a good year.
Okay.
I mean, he's their number 2 guy.
At running back?
No, at wide receiver.
I thought it was Chark.
No. Jameson Williams. Guy from Alabama.
Oh, right.
Always placed on the non-football injury list.
Yeah. So if Jameson Williams comes back, just put a tag on Jameson Williams and watch for when he comes back, because he will ramp up that offense even more.
I mean, it's just the first 4 weeks.
Okay. So he's out for the first 4 weeks. I really think that offensive line is just going to hold them and make them a relevant fantasy team. I mean, even with Chark, I mean, they go 4 deep at receiver. Like I said, Chark, Josh Reynolds, and Quintez Cephas. I don't know that I would draft Cephas. He may not be 4 deep, but I mean, the first 3 are definitely draftable and playable. I don't know. On defense, Aiden Hutchinson is probably worth taking a flyer on. Michael Brockers is there. I'm trying to look at Tracy Walker at free safety is a big one. And Jeff Okuda always gets points on defense as well. Those are the names that I see. Chris Board was with Baltimore last year. So any player who comes from Baltimore that was a linebacker, they're worth looking at. That's what I have to say about that. Noah's already moved on to the Packers, so take us through, Noah.
Yeah, I mean Rodgers, Dillon, Jones. I think a sneaky little flyer late could be Romeo Doubs, who Rodgers sung his praises. Outside of that, maybe Tunyon.
Watkins.
I don't know.
He's worth a flyer.
They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers on the roster. So I mean, I think even saying for Daubs for a late flyer is even risky because you don't know how they're going to use these guys. They seem to like having diversity and putting guys in different situations. So
yeah, but Rodgers also likes his guys once he clicks with them. But to that end, Rodgers, top 10 quarterback, top 5,
top 5,
top 3,
top 5,
top 5.
Even after losing those guys.
Yeah. I mean, Rodgers is Rodgers, right?
His value is not there. I'll tell you that.
I disagree.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
You mean like where he's
I'm
getting
saying
drafted?
his fantasy value is not there, is what I'm saying. Because I got him in that one league. Let me just see because I can get it pulled up right now. In the 9th round.
Wow.
Well, if he's there in the 9th round, take him.
Oh yeah. No, I had an auto draft right before, and it auto draft me Trey Lance. And I was so upset about it that the next round I drafted Rodgers. Lance might be good. I don't know. We'll see. But I wasn't willing to put my whole season on it. So
for running back, both Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are both draftable, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd like Jones a little bit more. I think he'll have to take on a bigger receiving role without those other guys there.
Yep.
I have a feeling Dillon's going to leach some touchdowns. A lot.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. The only touchdowns that Jones is going to get, I'm sorry to tell you, are going to be passing. Unless
or long breaks.
Yes. Unless it's a 2-minute drill and they're at 3rd and
right, they're just going
4 from the goal line, 3rd and 6 from the goal line. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. I'm with you.
Alrighty.
Sort of another fantasy enjoyable fantasy team to look at, it would be the Vikings. You have your receivers. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is top 2 receivers.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. He's going to go in the top 10 of nearly every draft. So it's between him and Kupp, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have Jefferson, you have Thielen. KJ Osborne sort of puts up sneaky numbers. Plus, he's from UB via Miami, or Miami via UB, I guess.
UB, then to Miami, then drafted.
He played for UB, transferred to Miami, and then got signed as a UDFA, I think, by Minnesota.
He's on Minnesota. He used to play for UB, and then he went to Miami, and now he's playing for Minnesota.
What?
He was the 20th pick of the 5th round.
There you go.
There we go. Another a sneaky tight end could be Irv Smith.
Yep. He's another one to watch
A
out for.
sneaky quarterback is always Kirk Cousins.
Hate him.
I know we hate him, but he puts up numbers, man. He puts up numbers.
Yeah, no, I know.
And then there's Dalvin Cook.
He's definitely like that. If you have position advantage, like running back or whatever,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can win a championship with him as your quarterback because he does 2 touchdowns a game, sometimes 3. You know what I mean? And like it's really all you need.
Right, like 200 yards, 250 sometimes.
Yep.
When he has a good game, he gets up to that 300.
Yeah, if it's a closer game, he'll hit 3.
He does better than you guys are saying, I think. But I mean, they have a lot of sneaky guys plus a lot of big name guys. Thielen sort of fell off the map last year because he got hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he may be a guy who a lot of teams don't think about, or a lot of owners don't think about. Dalvin Cook, is a stud at running back. Even though they say they're going to break it up a little bit more, I think Cook is still top. I think we talked about this. Cook is at least above Mixon.
Yeah. I think Dalvin Cook is
above
still a guy
Aaron Jones. A lot of people thought they were going to cut Madison. And if that would have happened, I would have said Cook definitely. But, Madison is still a guy, I guess, who can swipe some carries. They redid their defense a lot. They got Zadarius Smith, Jordan Hicks, Eric Hendricks was there. They kept Danielle Hunter. They swiped Patrick Peterson. Harrison Smith is still there. Their defense looks actually fairly good. They got Harrison Phillips, of course. So they are actually – they could be a sleeper in this if Cousins doesn't screw it up. What?
It's a tough task.
It's a tough task to ask Cousins not to screw it up. Atlanta Falcons.
Calvin Ridley.
Not there.
Don't draft anyone there except for Kyle Pitts. Does anyone?
Drake London might be a sneaky.
Drake London
I
might be
like
a
him.
Sneaky late round, but when your quarterback's Marcus Mariota and his backup is Desmond Ridder, I don't know. I struggle to think that
Kyle Pitts will get
his numbers. He is a stud among studs. You guys know that I love Kyle Pitts as a tight end. We think Patterson's gonna drop off, I assume.
Probably.
CJ Cordarrelle Patterson.
Drop off. Yeah. Who's the backup there?
Damian Williams.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. Yeah. So other than that, that's pretty much it because they got nobody. Really, I mean, grab Kyle Pitts because that's the only guy Mariota can throw to, and don't draft Mariota. You're done already? Huh? Okay. We're losing Noah, it looks like. Are you driving me to the...
Yeah, I'll go get her.
Okay. Okay, so Noah just threw me with that. He's leaving. So it's me and you, CJ.
All right.
So let's ride.
Let's ride.
Carolina Panthers.
Let's just so what we'll do for these last ones is we can kind of just we'll go through the names and we'll do guys that stick out to us. You know what I mean? Like guys that we're like,
Yeah, that's
okay, we
fine.
want them. And if there's somebody egregious that we feel as though is somewhat like going higher than they should, we'll say it.
That's fine with me.
All right. So Carolina, I'm gonna go with Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore.
Robbie.
Oh, it's tough. Mayfield's going to be a huge I stayed away from Moore in the one of the drafts I did, and my only thinking there was if Mayfield finds a better connection with Anderson, then Moore will take a hit because I don't think Mayfield can support both of them.
Yep. And a trade today was LaVisca Chenault, who we talked about last week as being a sleeper. Got traded to them. So he may be a second half guy. He may be nothing at all guy.
Yep. Learn the offense, see what he can do.
Right.
You know, I don't mind that. I think he's a young guy that has talent, and I think, you know, that usually
he may be better in a keeper league. You know, than a league like ours. On defense, Gross Matos is a stud. Really not much else. Well, Jeremy Chin always gets points.
Oh yeah.
And Shaq Thompson gets points too. Beyond that, Brian Burns. I'll just keep going. But Brian Burns, you know, so they have some playmakers on defense, and you know, they're not going to be good though. I mean, I'd be surprised if they're good. If they're good, it's because Baker Mayfield has a score to settle, and McCaffrey stays healthy. So that's Carolina. Carolina. New Orleans. Moving on to New Orleans. Where do you stand with Michael Thomas?
Like, I don't know. I go back and forth. Part of me thinks he's going to have like an amazing season and be the normal Michael Thomas that we had last time he played.
Yeah.
Other part of me thinks that offensively they're going to start to go away from that because they realize that he's probably not in the long-term plans.
Right, especially since they just got Olave.
Yeah.
They have Marcus Callaway.
He seems to be very like one day he's good and one day he's bad, and you know, one day he doesn't want to be on the team. And
yep.
So
yeah,
I think for that reason, as a team, with all the stuff that you've heard and gone on, you kind of just have to start to think elsewhere, right? And I don't know if that'll show offensively or not, but I guess.
Well, I mean, we know Jameis likes to throw.
Yeah, yeah. You got Landry there too.
Whether that turns into something or not. I didn't realize Dalton was their backup, but yeah, and Jarvis Landry. I mean, if Winston balls out, then they're good. If Winston doesn't and Thomas doesn't, they're not. Right? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Kamara and Ingram are both draftable.
Kamara's going late. That's a thing I just want to say to people is Kamara is going right now in the second round, late second usually, and that is a result of people thinking he'll be suspended for the fight that he got in Las Vegas last year at the Pro Bowl.
Okay.
And so he's dropped a lot, but as far as I know, the court case just got pushed back another 2 months. So legality-wise, probably won't finish before the end of the season, and then a suspension would have to come after that. So
right.
So I think you're good to draft him top 10. I'm going for him top 10. You know what I mean? Like if I can get him, I'm at 12. I got a 12 pick in a couple of leagues. If I can get him at 12, it's done. There's no question.
Yeah. And if you can handcuff Ingram to him, then do it.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
On defense, again, Jordan Cameron is a stud. Their defense is a stud. Their entire defense. I'm just gonna say that, except for left cornerback, who they just traded away. But Bradley Roby's gonna step in there.
He's used to that. He knows the defense.
Right, he knows the defense. Otherwise, I mean, these guys are just studs across the board. Marcus Davenport, David Onyemata. I don't know Shai Tuttle, but
I think they picked him up from somewhere.
yeah. But yeah, Demario Davis. I mean, Marcus May and Tyrann Matthews are their new safeties. Lattimore I wouldn't grab because he's another one they don't throw at.
Yep.
Which may make a Dabo Paulson very worth it, or Bradley Roby, very worth it. But that's New Orleans. Teams. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Another stacked team. Starting with their quarterback. Tom Brady. Most of you have heard of him.
I think you're still going after him. I think until he proves otherwise, you kind of still have to stay with him. And I'm like looking at that wide receiver core. I just don't see how he couldn't be just smitten by it. You got Julio, you got Russell Gage, you got Godwin, you got Evans,
and Perryman.
Yeah, and then Perryman is like the guy that they rely on when guys get hurt, and he knows the offense is solid there. You know what I mean? Has always played well when he's needed to play well.
Yeah.
And so, I just think with all that, you really can't ever doubt Brady at this point. So you have to just say, okay, with those weapons and, I don't know about, I kind of like Rashid White more and more, but we'll see what ends up happening with him and Fournette.
Yeah. I mean, their running back situation is kind of fluid. Fournette has his good games and his bad games. Rashad White is coming on. Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah.
Also. Yep. And they still have Bernard. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you're going to have to pay attention and see if someone comes out of that. Another stud defense. I mean, major stud defense.
Yeah, top 3 unit in the NFL for sure.
Vita Vea, Akeem Hicks is now their defensive end. William Golston at end. Inside linebackers, Devin White, Levante David. They added Shaquille Barrett at outside linebacker. They kept Carlton Davis. They still have their safeties and Edwards and Winfield, and Jamel Dean apparently is someone I should probably know. And Sean Murphy Bunting. So they're just stacked across the board on offense and defense. Don't be afraid to grab any of these guys. Take a little bit of hesitancy maybe with the running backs, but I still wouldn't be too afraid to draft at least Rashad White and Fournette and just see where it goes. But just know that it could go negatively. And at least the top 4 receivers with Evans, Godwin, Gage, and Jones, they're all worth drafting. So, and like CJ said, you ride with Brady until he shows he can't do it anymore. He's at 45 and still rolling. So, makes me tired just to think about. Arizona Cardinals, another fun team to talk about. I don't think they're as stacked as some other teams, but they do have Kyler Murray. He's a top top quarterback. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that. They kept James Conner, who was a surprise for them last year. Benjamin is his backup. He swiped some carries near the end of the year, I think, but I wouldn't worry about Connor too much. I think Connor will get his yards and that kind of thing. You run up and down this. It's questionable, a little bit more questionable, I think, when you talk about A.J. Green, Marquise Brown, and Rondale Moore. A.J. Green is on the other side of his career. Marquise Brown has never put it all together, but people are saying this is the year. And Rondale Moore, he's just a guy to me. I don't know. Do you think higher of him than I do?
I did like him before, more before the Marquise Brown, but I feel like him and Brown have a very similar skill set, so it didn't really make sense to me why, if they just grabbed Rondale last year as a rookie, then why they were getting Brown. But clearly they either feel that Moore is just not what they need him to be.
Yeah. The other part to consider about this, folks, is Hopkins. One of the top receivers in the games. You got to mark him and make sure when he comes back that you have him on your waiver wire, and as soon as he's available, you put in a claim. Again, one of the best receivers in the game.
Yeah, so I think you're grabbing him with a late round if possible. You don't want to spend too much on him. Don't want to have to waste a starting spot.
Right.
But I'd say if you can get him anywhere after the third or fourth starter, or once your starters are fully filled, after that third or fourth one, if you can get him, you got to take him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then Zach Ertz is out there. He put up nice numbers once he got there. I don't think you can expect him to be a top tight end, but you can definitely expect him to be a tight end 1 in at least a 12-team league, right? What do you think about that? Disagree?
Ertz, I'm fine with Ertz. I like his upside more than some of the other guys.
Yeah.
I put him again. We had this conversation a few days ago, but the Schultz, the Goddard, the Hawkinson, I'm right up.
Right.
I'm there with Ertz, right there with them.
Okay. Right. On defense, J.J. Watt's there. Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins, and Buda Baker are the guys who I'd really look at. Yeah, those are the guys. Isaiah Simmons is a beast. If you can get him, go for it. I'm not a J.J. Watt fan, but he does put up numbers, both tackles and sacks. So as long as you have him, just know you may not have him for all 16 games. Though he was like Superman or whatever until he got hurt last year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
San Francisco. This is an interesting one for me. Let's go right to the quarterbacks and talk about how Jimmy Garoppolo just took a huge pay cut to stay. While they've committed to Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think that's awful. I don't know whose call that was, but it just shows dysfunctionality within the organization. Now you got Lance looking over his shoulder. I don't like it.
Yeah. And that'll affect the rest of the offense outside of the running game. Lance.
The only thing I can think of is they thought he wasn't ready. or like, because to
Right.
me, it's like he's right behind waiting on
Right.
him to mess up. And then,
Right. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
But they're sticking with him. I mean, they're saying he's the starter, and
Mhm.
from that standpoint, it is what it is, I guess. At receiver, Ayuk and Debo is a top 5 receiver, receiver / running back. If you can get him in a league where he qualifies as a running back, you definitely grab him. And then, of course, George Kittle at tight end, and then Elijah Mitchell at running back. But they're running back deep. So, again, from that standpoint, you got to be kind of careful. But I think Elijah Mitchell sort of has that locked down. I don't know if you feel differently, CJ, but
I'm
I
with
think
you.
okay. On defense, Eric Armstead is the first person I look at. Nick Bosa's the next. Fred Warner's the next. I guess you could put those in any order, really. I'm not sure who else they have. Chavarius Ward they got from Kansas City. I don't think he's very good. I think he's just known because he came from Kansas City. So I think those are your 3 guys, honestly, is Armstead, Bosa, and Fred Warner, and maybe Greenlaw. But those would be your guys looking at it as objectively as I can. So that would cover San Francisco. I guess where we are with Trey Lance is we don't know where to go with Trey Lance. We just take him at your own risk, I guess would be the way to say it. But he could be really good. And Kyle Shanahan's a wizard, so you never know. Seattle. What do we say about Seattle? I have no idea on this. I guess when Geno Smith is your starting quarterback, why am I having trouble saying that? When Geno Smith is your starting quarterback, and you have 4 running backs who can all play, you're not going to get a lot of production out of your wide receivers, no matter how good they are. Metcalf and Lockett, I think, are great receivers, just not for Geno Smith or Drew Lock, for that matter. Whoever ends up as the starter there. Right now it's listed as Smith. So I don't know where you stand on that. If you think maybe they'll get their catches.
It's tough. Gino really scares me as the
Yeah.
starter. So I think that limits, them right off the bat. And then I don't know. I think it's tough. It's tough. I could see both of them not going under 1,000 yards, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, Locke has just always been so good and so reliable,
Mm-hmm.
It's just
That's why I kind of think he'll do better with Gino, but
yeah. Any thoughts on their running backs with Penny, Walker, Homer, and Dallas?
you're going with Penny and hope he shows. The rest you don't even really want to touch. I don't even want to touch him at all, honestly. Like, unless I had to.
Yeah, I mean, Walker could break out in the second half or something. I mean, you would think they would want to try and feed him, but I don't know. They sort of seem like they're falling apart at this point to me.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, it was either get rid of Russell or get rid of Carroll, and they stuck with Carroll. So your offense is going to be very similar to what it's always been. It's not going to change.
And Carson had to retire, right? right? I don't know. He's not with anybody. Um,
You're right.
on defense, Quandre Diggs and Jordan Brooks, and that pretty much looks like it. Who I would go after, unless I was really feeling adventurous. Which on defense you don't have to feel adventurous. Go after the people you know, and the guys. Be adventurous on offense, not on defense. That's what I think. I don't know how you feel, but let's hit our last team, and yeah, we did all the other divisions. St. Louis Rams, we get to see them in 9 days. Assuming I can count, 9 days. They're loaded, just like the Bills are loaded. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson. How do you feel about Akers? High pick?
Yeah, I like Akers.
Okay.
I think he'll end up between 15 and 20 as far as running back.
Okay. How do you feel about Stafford and his injury?
I'm not worried about that. I
Okay.
think he'll be fine for the regular season.
So then we've got Allen Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
Van Jefferson, and Cooper Kupp all coming or all staying while the Bills go there with limited cornerbacks, and Tyler Higbee. So this is going to be a tough one for the Bills next Thursday, but they're going to be tough all season. All three of those guys are draft worthy. Kupp isn't going to have the year he had last year, but he'll only fall off by a little bit. We've talked about Kupp a lot. I think Allen Robinson might. I don't see him being worse than Robert Woods.
I think he'll be Odell,
Yeah.
very similar to what Odell did last year, if not a little bit better, because he'll have more time to get ready with the team.
Yeah.
I like him. I like Robinson a lot. I've always liked him since he came in the league. He was with Jacksonville.
Yeah. Me
He's
too.
a good wide receiver. I think the offense he was with last year with Fields just wasn't it.
Yep.
And I really like him this year.
I'm with you there. And Van Jefferson could be a revelation, I think. He is definitely one of my sleepers. And everyone who follows us knows I love Matthew Stafford. So, he's going to get the ball around. He's going to throw wherever he wants to throw. And again, they didn't keep their offensive line intact. They lost 4 of their 5 guys, actually.
Wow.
But they filled them with other good guys. A couple of draft picks, a couple of signings. But it seems like it's still in place, and the guy they kept was their center. So Brian Allen. So they should be. I think they'll be fine. On defense, Aaron Donald, obviously. Bobby Wagner is there this year. God, the Bills are going to get killed. Leonard Floyd, on defense, don't be afraid. Again, these guys are good. I don't know that there's anyone whose name if you look at the defense, who I would say don't draft, except for Jalen Ramsey, which I guess puts David Long in a good position. Just because
but also the safety do a lot too.
And the safeties, right?
Yeah.
And even the nickel at Troy Hill. So, Yeah, I mean the safeties I think are who the Bills can pick on, if anyone.
That's where you get good fantasy value, you know. 'Cause they'll
Jordan
have to go
Fuller and
deeper.
Nick Scott. Yeah, I mean,
I think the D line will do really well against that line.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So maybe the Bills won't get killed. Another guy I just noticed that they added was Ashawn Robinson. Along that line. So yeah, this is gonna Bills Rams is gonna be a fun game. And I think we'll possibly see it again in February. So one more thing to bring up that happened today in the AFC side. Kenyon Drake was picked up by Baltimore. That affects their running back situation pretty significantly. Well, I guess we don't know until we know, but picking him up, obviously they're not happy with the running back situation.
Well, I think you got Gus Edwards, who's going to not be able to play the first couple weeks.
Right. And DK coming,
Dobbins, yeah,
coming off of an injury as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's
Mike Davis was their only healthy running back, completely healthy.
And they must not have liked him very much.
Yeah. So it does, at least if you haven't done a draft yet, where you've taken Mike Davis, think about Drake maybe late. And maybe you can get some early season points out of Drake until these other guys who are better come back. Otherwise, I haven't seen any major trades or any other big pickups, but just look, folks, just keep an eye out. I mean, that's what you have to do in fantasy football. You need to pay attention to the changes, team switching up, trades. When guys get cut, you need to see what happens. When there's a guy out there like, let's just say Odell Beckham, and if he signs with like the Buffalo Bills, perchance, you know, he may be someone who you stash until December, you know. That kind of thing. So you just pay attention to that. Pay attention to injured players, especially. A lot of players or a lot of owners and a lot of leagues miss out on injured players coming back or players coming back from suspensions and that kind of thing, and miss out on grabbing someone really good. And that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to give away all my secrets. CJ, any final thoughts for our viewers on fantasy football strategy, anything like that?
My biggest strategy right now is I am like, I'm not really there on the value of the wide receivers in the first round. So I'm really trying to get 2 running backs out of the first 2 to 3 rounds. If I have to go running back first 2, that's fine. But the drop off in talent and drop off compared to running backs to wide receivers is much different. So you really need to keep that in mind. And I cannot stress that enough. You will not be disappointed if you do go running back, but at the very least, you need to have 2 out of your first 3 be the top 3 round running backs.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Do you believe in stacking?
I'm fine with stacking, like, I don't know, like it was always like stacking. If I could stack Rodgers and Adams, right? Like that's ideal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once you get outside of that, you know, I think the guys that are, I think it doesn't matter. I think if the value is there at the position, it doesn't matter if they play on the same team or not. You know what I mean? And
one of the things that I've read about this year is that a new strategy, or I don't know if it's new, but a strategy that people are picking up on is stacking running backs and wide receivers instead of quarterbacks and wide receivers.
So you either get the points one way or another on high efficiency offenses. I like it.
Yeah. And that's sort of a new strategy.
Yeah. I've always liked that. I like that idea. You know what I mean? I like the idea of, okay, we're going to come out of some points out of this offense, whether
Right.
it's wide receiver or running back. Yeah.
Right. And I think you can even stack wide receivers, two on the same team.
Yeah.
Depending on how many.
Depending on what team they're on.
Yeah. And your league rules. Brenda asked, what is stacking? So stacking is taking two players on the same team and getting their points from both of them. So
double dipping.
Yeah. It really is double dipping. So let's just say Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That would be stacking if you had them both, and you would get any points that Allen throws to Diggs, who's his number one receiver. They would both obviously get points, and you would double dip and get points for both. So that's fun. Except don't ever draft Bills because you'll be yelling at the TV for wrong reasons.
Right.
Other than that, I think we've given a lot of good advice. I think we've hit on everything we can from a fantasy standpoint. And not everything we can, but and we have the game day 716 draft tomorrow night. So I think that'll be fun. We'll have a good time, and we'll let you all know how it goes. I'll probably have made 20 roster moves by the time we talk next week, folks. So CJ, you want to take us home?
Sure. Let's go. All right, guys. We appreciate you stopping by, hanging out, checking us out. We'd also appreciate if you could follow, like anything that you see that comes out of Game Day 716, whether that be YouTube, Twitter, anywhere in the social media sphere. We would love it, and we'd greatly appreciate it. We'd love to hear your feedback. We'd love to have the conversations. It was great to see people post stuff while we were in the podcast tonight and be able to respond to that stuff. That's great, guys. We appreciate it. We always love to have you guys in it with us and, moving along and getting better with us. So that's great. As always, thanks again, everybody. Buffalo, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a safe night.
Safe night.
Stay sunny, Buffalo. Let's go.
Let's go.